Right, good evening, welcome to Axiom Flux. That's not quite right, is it? Axiom Curb Flux News. With me, Stav, PJ and Dom. And today's date is the 26th of February 2015. A lot in the news to do with these things here, politicians. I'll start you off with this one. PM backing for second jobs for MPs. David Cameron has defended the right of MPs to do second jobs, insisting that extra work can be fitted in alongside constituency duties. In rowdy clashes in the Commons, the Prime Minister rejected a call from Ed Miliband to restore the reputation of the House by banning politicians from holding paid dictatorships, directorships, consultancies or trade union roles. MPs defeated a Labour call for banning a Commons vote called in the wake of the latest cash for access controversy. Defending the ability of MPs to carry out other work, Mr Cameron pointed out I dropped my mouse. Mr Cameron pointed out that he spent more time on his duties as PM than on matters linked to his seat in Witney, Oxfordshire. We have practicing doctors in this house, we have practicing dentists, we have people who take part serving our country in Afghanistan or Iraq, and we do have people who run family businesses or have other interests, the Tory leader said. What you want is a parliament where people can come and share their experience and make some points instead of just having a whole lot of trade unions sponsored ciphers. Mr Cameron added, I think the most important thing we can do, and I certainly don't rule out further changes, the most important thing is to make sure we apply the rules. Paid lobbying banned, non-declaration of interest banned, making sure wrongdoing is investigated and punished. We are not making no change. We have just passed a lobbying act, and we have just passed a recall act so people can sack their MP. Labour's Commons motion was later defeated by 287 votes to 219, a majority of 68. The vote came a day after former Conservative Foreign Secretary Sir Rifkind stepped down as chairman of the committee that oversees Britain's intelligence agencies and announced he was quitting as an MP after being caught by hidden cameras discussing the possibility of working for a fictitious Chinese company. Sir Malcolm, an ex-Labour secretary, Jack Straw, also caught in the sting by Channel 4's dispatches and the Daily Telegraph, said they have referred themselves for an investigation by the Parliamentary Commission for Standards, which will not be completed until after the general election. Both deny wrongdoing. The Parliamentary Standards Commission officers said Catherine Hudson had formally launched an inquiry into Mr Straw after he referred his own case. The probe is into allegations about use of parliamentary resources, declaration of interests and lobbying. However, no investigation has been launched into Sir Malcolm, as he has not yet contacted the Commissioner asking for it. Mr Miliband seized on the controversy to renew his demands for tougher restrictions. Labour candidates have already been told they will not be allowed to hold directorships or be consultants if elected in May, and the leader has mooted a 10% cap on outside earnings. But Mr Cameron argued that Shadow Education Secretary Tristram Hunt was making more than 10% extra as a college lecturer, saying it was a very good thing. The Premier said there was fundamentally a disagreement between the two leaders on whether Parliament benefited from a range of experience. He went on, "At the moment I'm both the Member of Parliament for West Oxfordshire and I am the Prime Minister. To be honest, I do constituency work every day, but I would be misleading the House if I said I spent more time on my constituency work than being Prime Minister, and I think that's worthwhile reflecting on." Meanwhile, veteran Tory Sir Peter Tapsell delivered a stark warning that membership of the Commons would be confined to obsessive crackpots if second jobs were not allowed. "I fear that if people in this House are not allowed a second job, members of it will soon be confined to the inheritors of substantial fortunes, or to rich spouses, or to obsessed crackpots, or to those who are unemployed anywhere else," he told the House. Well, that's what we got in there, haven't we? Anyway, Sir Malcolm is said to have told undercover reporters that he had plenty of time on his hands to take on outside work. In an interview this week, he suggests that people with professional background could not be expected to be satisfied with an income of £60,000. Former cabinet ministers Lord Esseltine and Lord Lawson, have also spoken out in support of allowing outside interests. Well, they would, wouldn't they? Lord Esseltine told the BBC's Newsnight, "Is an MP expected to be a full-time employee of his or her constituency? My own view is that it is not a full-time job." £60,000, part-time job. Not bad, is it? "There's a huge commitment in it, and you work all hours and all days, but there is plenty of time in which you can do other things, providing it's within the rules that are laid down." That's a bit contradictory, isn't it? Anyway, ex-Chancellor Lord Lawson told Sky News, "Being a constituency MP, although it is an important job, is not a full-time job. Indeed, the proof of that is that ministers are also MPs and they do both jobs. When I was Chancellor of the Exchequer, I had one of the heaviest workloads in the country, and yet I continued as a constituency member, and I don't think anybody said I wasn't doing my job there." Oh, we nearly finished. I was going to finish it there, but Shadow Work and Pension Secretary Rachel Reeves said that anyone who had built up their own business prior to being elected should not be allowed to continue as a paid director or an MP. "I don't think you should carry on being a paid director," she told BBC Radio 4 at the World at One. "No one forces you to stand as a member of Parliament. If you want to be a member of Parliament, your role then is to represent your constituents." Tory MP Sarah Worsnell, who stopped working as a GP after being elected in 2010, said second jobs were not compatible with being an MP. "We need more MPs with a real-life experience before Parliament, but if you're doing it properly, it's just not a part-time job," she wrote on Twitter. "It was reasonable for politicians to spend a small amount of time maintaining skills and links to their field of expertise. But any outside work must clearly pass the smell test, or whether it was compatible with doing the job of an MP properly," she said. Conservative Party Chairman Grant Shapps told LBC Radio, "The idea that we should have 650 professional politicians from Hampstead like Marxist Ed Miliband is preposterous. If you attack business, which he spends all his time doing, and you have never done anything else but politics, then frankly I do not see why you should be listened to. Only somebody who has never had any life at all, even before becoming an MP, would think it was a good idea not to have that experience." And PM backing for second jobs. Well, should they have second jobs, PJ Don? Should they be allowed to have second jobs?
They've got an habit of telling, the average common working class person to go out and find a second job if you can't afford to meet ends meet. So, why should these people who already get paid enough? I mean, the job they're doing, responsibility of the job that they've got to do, should really, you know, be a full-time job, because there's a whole lot of stuff involved. And I don't, you know, with these people, I mean, because they're MPs, they think, you know, we can take this job, we'll do that job, and it's so easy to get jobs once you've been an MP. But I don't think it's fair.
I think they should be allowed second jobs, depending on what it is, unless you're actually in power and you pass a cabinet, and then it should be a full-time job. Being an MP should be a full-time job if you pass a cabinet and you're in power. Apart from that, I think they should be allowed second jobs, depending on what it is like. As long as
I think the constituency has to agree. I think, like for example, David Blunkett, whoever he's serving, they should, you know, all vote and say, yeah, we don't mind if you want to do it, but they shouldn't just take it upon themselves willy-nilly to run around doing whatever they can when they feel like it. I don't think that's showing some.
I mean, Tristan Nunn, like Dave Cameron says, Tristan Nunn is a lecturer. He says he's a lecturer at a college. I mean, that's a good, all right, second job, a job like that. There's no wrong with that.
Well, that's interesting. Go on then, PJ. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I ain't got a problem with doing second jobs, depending on what it is, but we can't have them running around doing what they want as they please. It has to be regulated by the people.
Well, just jobs that might be conflicts of interest. Obviously, no, it's a no.
Yeah, but we're not going. But this way, we're not going to find out until it's too late, until it's already happened.
Well, they'd have to draw it all up, won't they, and see what jobs are on and what jobs aren't.
Yeah.
So basically, there's some interesting comments there, lads. So would you agree that the being an MP is a part-time job then?
No, it should definitely be a full-time job.
Yeah, but would you agree at the moment it's a part-time job?
Yeah, well, it appears like they're taking it as a part-time job.
Well, I mean, if you go and look on the hours they spend in Parliament, it's only 6 months a year.
Oh yeah, no, they get 6 months holidays, yeah.
So basically, I would say that sort of.
That's already taking biscuit.
Yeah, that would outline to me that comes under part-time. That comes under part-time, doesn't it? 6 months a year. If you're only working 50% of the year, that surely comes under part-time earnings, yeah?
Yeah.
So they get £60,000, their part-time job, and plus expenses. That's not including the expenses, so you can pretty much double that. Okay, this is for a part-time job. They have outside interests, right, that they don't work as. They have shares in companies that get conveniently awarded government contract jobs, so they get a nice smack off that. And plus they want to be able to go and do £5,000 a day speeches. So anybody who says, I agree that they should be allowed to have a second-hand job is not smelling the coffee. Yeah.
No.
In my opinion.
Ever since I saw I mean, I keep saying his name, David Blunkett, but ever since I saw that one where I think he did 4 hours work for over £20,000, just talking. and these companies he's doing is like Zurich. I mean, risk assessment for Zurich. Why would you want to go and talk about risk assessment?
Did you know he was responsible? I read an article today. You might be covering it. I don't know. He was responsible, the minister, for bringing in the tasers. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know. Is that who it were?
Yes, Blunkett.
Ah.
Yes.
Wow.
According to this article, they tasered over 400 kids last year. The police, children.
Yeah, it sounds about right. So
that lovely MP charges 20 grand for 0 speech hours. What's that lovely? That particular MP, I just come across it, Dan. I thought, well, I didn't know. Of course it was. He was in charge. He was the minister at the time. He is responsible for the tasers the police use indiscriminately.
Yeah.
It appears that they use them at times indiscriminately.
So while he's doing these talks on risk assessment for Zurich, he's also throwing out tasers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
No, enough said on that one, Andy. I've heard enough for tonight on Blunkett.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm moving on. Now, the reasons why I think, because I'm going to tie these two together, but they're quite long articles, and I don't want to take up too much time. But PM backing for second jobs for MPs. Of course. What is the reason why? Oh, a bit more than that, but and we've got an article here just to rub salt in the wound, the ongoing released business about Rifkind and Straw. Now, this is Rifkind firm awarded NHS contract despite charging £7 million more than NHS. The Cameron government has awarded an £80 million NHS contract to a private firm despite the company charging taxpayers £7 million more than an NHS consortium bidding against it. Stoke NHS hospital scanning contract was won by private firm. The government, however, hasn't said why the firm, Alliance Medical Group, won the contract despite its bid being so much more expensive. That's because the bidding process was for some reason secret. Ian Syme, coordinator of the pressure group North Staffordshire, said of the award of the contract, "This whole process has been shrouded in secrecy. We don't even know who expert advisor or public representative were on the panel. This, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that a director of the firm is none other than disgraced cash for access Tory MP Malcolm Rifkind." So it's not a lot going into it. There's a load of comments, obviously. So there you go. Now, I just thought I'd back that article up there with that article there, because that article there answers that article, and why this slivery thing there is saying he's backing them for second jobs for MPs. Slithering. Where was that? Slithering. School, wasn't it? What was it for? Harry Potter, wasn't it? He looks like Harry Potter with his shiny head. So any thoughts on that, PJ? Over to you, because it's a short article, but I thought I'd back that first one up with that one. But I think the second article is says it all, doesn't it, mate?
It does. Yeah, exactly. So for the guy, Malcolm, who's got all-time in world, he's now going to be running around directing the NHS contracts, is he?
He is
for a private firm.
Yeah, well, when you look into it, this is for Stoke NHS Hospital scanning contract. Just one hospital scanning contract, I think. If I stand corrected, I'll stand corrected. Someone was pointing it out, but one hospital scanning contract, just a scanning contract, right? Charging £80 million for a scanning contract at one hospital.
And they're charging £7 million more than
Yes.
what other bidders were able to offer.
Consortium bidding against it.
Yeah.
The bidding, that's because the process was done in secret.
In secret, by a board of unknown members.
Now, wake up, people, for crying out loud. I don't care what your theories are on whether these are aliens from another world or what sort of things they are, but whatever your theories are, the fact of the matter is, who do you think's going to pay the £8 million in sweat equity?
Mm-hmm. So there's no other mentions to. So is Malcolm Rifkind the CEO of Alliance Medical Group?
He is a director.
Direct, same thing, is it not?
Yeah, of course.
Right, well that's what I don't agree with. If he's a CEO and he's got a second job, getting a contract from NHS, and then slapping £7 million more on top of that.
Yes, just for his new pair of shoes or something like that.
Deeply troubling, and
deeply troubling. Well, you know my theory on the whole shabam. I think the whole game, the whole thing is,
be interested to find out who these public representatives were and expert advisors.
Well, you're never going to find out, are you?
Through freedom of information request, you probably might be able to.
No, it's not.
Do a bit of research and.
The bidding process was all done in
secret.
Remember, they're part of the secret society. Secret society. You mustn't know this. You mustn't know that. That's for us to know. And you to
well, that's Cameron.
Find it.
That's Cameron. He came in and he ran it to the ground.
Well, you know my thoughts on the whole thing, which we won't spare the listeners, if you know the listeners, but we'll spare that for the moment. But if they want to ask me for solutions to any of this, I've got hundreds of solutions to it. You know, there's one simple solution, isn't there, to the whole?
Direct democracy had put an end to all this.
Yes, of course, absolutely, and you will be able to, like I say, put it somewhere central in the UK, like Birmingham or somewhere like that, where it's right in the middle of the country, and a team of administrators to carry out the rules that the direct democracy that people want carried out, and have no power or nothing to do anything. Representative? Who do we think Malcolm Rifkind, MP, is representing here? Now let's have a guess, shall we? Who is Malcolm Rifkind representing here? Come on, you fans of representative democracy. I would like you to leave a comment for me, or any of us for that matter. There's a little question. Who do we think Malcolm Rifkind is representing? So there you go. Because it's meant to be a representative democracy. Is it? It's a constitutional monarchy with a parliament. So go and check it out. That's what it is, the system, supposedly. Anyway, anything from you, Dom, to add to that? Are you got anything to add?
I'm alright, Andy, on my side.
Okay. Well, I'll just move on then. I'll move on. This is just a separate little thing, and I was thought, well, that's about right in the USA. Hearing some some horrific things coming out of the USA. And this is a little old grandmother. Grandma pepper spray for delivering cupcakes to school. A terrified grandmother is filing charges after being pepper sprayed and dragged from her car by a police officer for attempting to deliver cupcakes to her grandchildren in school. RT.com reports Mary Paul, 78, merely wanted to get the baked treats to her grandchildren while they were attending class at Carson Intermediate School in Fresno, California. For several years, Paul was the legal guardian of her son's two daughters, but a custody dispute between the girls' parents left her unable to see the girls. I hadn't seen my granddaughters for some time, and I wanted to see them. And so I baked some cupcakes and bought some cookies for my granddaughter's classroom. Paul told reporters of a local ABC affiliate about last year's incident. What happened last year? A police officer from Clovis United School District approached Paul outside one of the classrooms, informing her of a restraining order that had been filed against her and she had to leave the school grounds. Paul obeyed the officer and drove her car off the school campus, parking on the street in front of the school where she placed a telephone call to her son to explain the situation. At this point, the officer reportedly became aggressive and eventually pepper sprayed the 78-year-old, who is less than 5 feet tall and weighs about 110 pounds. He wouldn't listen to anything I had to say, period. Every time I tried telling him anything, I was even telling him I'm 78 years old. Before he grabbed me, he sprayed me with mace twice, Paul said. Paul said she was very frightened and told the officer to call the police, to which he responded, I am the police. He jerked me out of the car with my left arm with such a great force and then threw me on the pavement. From there he dragged me by my left arm up to the school grounds, she added. Paul said she suffered more than £180,000 in medical bills as a result of her injuries and has filed a lawsuit alleging police brutality and elderly abuse. The amount of force it took to inflict these injuries is testament to what happened that day, Mark Coleman, Paul's attorney, told an ABC affiliate. Clovis Unified has not publicly commented on the lawsuit. Such incidents of excessive force at the hands of US police officers are gaining greater attention. On Sunday, a YouTube video surfaced of a Fort Lauderdale police officer slapping a homeless man outside a bus terminal. The police officer, Victor Ramirez, has been suspended with pay as investigators review the case. Anyway,
that says it all, that last part. Last sentence there, Andy, at bottom.
What, the police officer Victor Ramirez, or such incidents of excessive force at the hands of US?
No, that one, Victor Ramirez, or whatever his name is, yeah? Suspended with pay as investigators review the case. So that means, to me, if you want to have a few days off, or a week or a 2 week off, and still get paid, just go out, find an homeless man, give him a couple of slaps, and there you go. It's as easy, because they're above the law. They know full well that they're going to get back to the job and nothing's ever going to happen, right? So if they want a free holiday, without having to book it in like normal people do, they can just go and slap an homeless man and get paid for it.
Yeah.
And the other copper, so she was not allowed to go near the school, but after assaulting her, he dragged her to the school.
Yeah, I don't get that.
So she would have then breached whatever it were that.
Yes.
Apparently. Yeah. Well, that's just complete. Where's that policing? How is that policing?
It's not. It's like when I last had a car, and I told you, before I got rid of my car years ago, my last experience with police is I got pulled over because they thought had it run out in 12 hours my MOT, but they conveniently pulled me over into a clamping area.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know these tricks all over the place, but yeah, it's
Well, did she have Obamacare by any chance?
$180,000 in medical bills. $180,000 in medical bills.
I hope she wins a case, because she's going to need it.
Anyway, that's my article. I've had a good one tonight, so thanks for the comments, guys. Very interesting.
Yeah, good stuff. Nice one for that, Andy.
That's all right. I'll put it over and we'll stop sharing this.
Okay, doke. While you're doing that, I'll take it off you.
Yep.
Okay, my first article for today is the HSBC, and it's the chief rejects direct responsibility for banks' criminal activity in Switzerland. So we're still trying to work out whether it is criminal. Some people are trying to say it's not, some are saying it is, some don't know. But taking that to one side, whether it's criminal or not, the fact that the chief is rejected to take responsibility, direct responsibility, should say enough on its own. Moving into this article, we've got Stuart Gulliver, not like anybody needed his name mentioning, and Group Chairman Douglas Flint. So let's start. The HSBC Chairman Douglas Flint has failed to take direct responsibility for the bank's alleged criminal transgressions in Switzerland. He told MPs he should not be subjected to a bonus clawback. MPs ramped up pressure on HSBC on Wednesday by summoning Flint to give evidence to the Treasury Select Committee. The hearing focused on HSBC's alleged complicity in tax evasion. It was also attended by the banking giant's CEO, Stuart Gulliver. The committee launched its inquiry after a string of global media outlets published damning details of 100,000 bank accounts held by HSBC's Swiss private banking arm. Although the 100,000 has apparently been reduced now to, I think it's under 30,000 or around that mark. Not too sure the facts on that. The leaked files revealed the bank's alleged complicity in tax evasion and, here we go, aggressive tax avoidance between 2005 and 2007. They also shed light on HSBC's practices of doling out large amounts of cash to clients in mixed currencies and offering bank services to drug traffickers and criminals. As HSBC's ex-finance director, Flint, faced questioning on who was responsible for scrutiny of HSBC's banking empire between the years of 2005 and 2007, MPs also challenged him on whether the bank subsidiary in Switzerland was exempt from compliance oversight at the time. The efficacy of in-house HSBC reforms implemented since 2011 were also broached. There you go. MPs quizzing HSBC bosses. I paid my tax in full, said Stuart Gulliver. Throughout the course of the hearing, Flint was reluctant to discuss individual accountability for HSBC's practices in Switzerland. Rather, he focused on collective responsibility and HSBC's internal clean-up. Flint said, collective responsibility for governance, management and compliance failures across the banking group must be acknowledged, but he failed to take personal responsibility for HSBC's transgressions in Switzerland. The HSBC CEO said the bank's Swiss subsidiary had let down the banking group's wider workforce. He said senior managers in its Swiss arm bear accountability for HSBC's transgressions in Geneva. So we'll just take a little break there if you've got any thoughts before I close this article.
Well, it's not just a tax evasion. One of the big stories about these was the money laundering, cleansing of the Mexican
drug cartel, yeah.
Which was in the billions. We're not talking millions here, we're talking billions, several billions.
Yeah.
Was laundered through and cleansed, shall we say cleansed, through their bank. So, I mean, even forget about the tax evasion, which is bad enough, but the cleansing of the Mexican drug cartel money. I mean, come on, who did this? I paid tax. What? And, well, you know, it's, I think, regulation. Well, self-regulation, isn't it? Even if you take whatever what they're called, FSA? Is it FSA?
Yeah.
Well, they're all ex-bankers anyway.
Yeah.
Or should we say, most of them? Well, they all come from banks. So they're still self-regulatory in my eyes. So.
Maybe it goes back to what you just said about the Mexican drug cartel being in the billions. Now this is apparently only in the millions for some of the clients that were have been. What they're trying
to do is they're trying to cover up the real crime.
Yeah.
Serious crime with a minor crime in respects that, if we can call it, because everybody's entitled to fill their tax, you know. So it's not so bad, really. What about the billions you cleansed for the Mexican cartel? You mentioned that. Oh, we did, yes, we did mention it, but we didn't focus on it. They focus on the small things to cover up the large things.
Yep.
Who was the paper? Who was the article from?
This is from RT.
Well, Yeah. Why about going for the juggler, RT, if that's what you're meant to be doing? I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Anyway, yes.
They have in the past, but
Yes,
they
I'm
don't
not.
seem to
No,
be.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
just saying.
I'll close this one up then. The serious and organised tax fraud. Flint initially denied HSBC's Swiss subsidiary had facilitated aggressive tax avoidance, but he later admitted HSBC had previously displayed a very restricted appetite for corporate tax restructuring. He conceded the bank had suffered from horrible reputational damage in recent weeks. What about the months when it was revealed about the Mexican drug cartel? Is that just been forgotten all of a sudden? But stressed more robust practices for screenings clients are now in place in Switzerland. In an effort to downplay scandals surrounding the bank's Swiss arm, Flint stressed that only 2% of those who stash money in HSBC's Swiss subsidiary are British. Just 2%. 2% of the tax dodging, whatever you want to call them, washing the money through the HSBC Swiss bank. Queried on HSBC's response to leaked files from its Swiss subsidiary, Flint said the bank's immediate reaction was to examine weaknesses in its data security measures. He made no reference to an in-house criminal probe. Labour MP John Mann condemned HSBC for focusing on data theft rather than criminality uncovered by a whistleblower. So it's to say with the excuses of Jack Straw saying the whole setup of the Channel 4 was to blame and not really his own actions. So the unanswered questions are, as Gulliver presented HSBC's financial results alongside Flint on Monday, both men said they were ashamed of the scandal that has engulfed HSBC in recent weeks. Gulliver was initially drafted into HSBC as an agent of reform. However, criticism of his personal tax arrangements has surfaced in recent times. Leaked bank files dated between 2005 and 2007 reveal he sheltered $5 million at a Panamanian firm with his Swiss HSBC account. Another source of controversy for Gulliver is the fact he is domiciled in Hong Kong for tax purposes despite being a UK resident. He has not lived in China since 1990. Gulliver claims he expects to die abroad, and this is the most important factor for determining his domiciliary status. Despite controversy surrounding Gulliver's tax affairs, the HSBC chief told the committee he sincerely desires to improve HSBC's banking standards. He also denies allegations of aggressive tax avoidance. There's a little tweet here from Robert Hutton. Douglas Flint clears things up on whether there were problems with the bank structure. It worked very well until it didn't. Quite a lot more, but we've covered this over the past so many days now, so I think it's time to move on until they reveal some more people to talk about. Activists busting cops probed over attempts to recruit student moles. 2 British police officers who tried to recruit student activists to spy on their campaigning peers are under investigation for alleged misconduct. The internal probe by Cambridgeshire Police follows allegations that officers repeatedly approached students in a coercive manner, eventually causing them to then give up their campaigning. Undercover video footage emerged in 2013 showing a police officer attempting to persuade an activist to spy on students campaigning against austerity, racism and environmental destruction. Students report they felt stressed and paranoid after the encounters, with some giving up their political activities. A UN Special Rapporteur on the freedom of peaceful assembly suggested the Cambridge cases may be the tip of the iceberg in the UK. One campaigner was allegedly offered cash in exchange for spying on fellow students at Cambridge University. He reportedly became paranoid following the incident and stopped activism altogether. A 23-year-old single mother alleged police threatened to prosecute her if she told anyone about their attempt to recruit her as a mole. She told The Guardian she stopped anti-racism campaigning and was left feeling violated, isolated, vulnerable and paranoid by the affair. She also feared criminal prosecution would impact on her university studies, future work prospects and her young son. One campaigner wore a hidden camera when police attempted to persuade him to spy on activists. The footage, which was published by The Guardian in 2013, shows the office say such information was needed because the things campaigners discuss can have an impact on community issues. The officer goes on to say he wants the names of students going to demonstrations and details of the vehicles in which they travelled to protests. He also asked the activists to use Facebook to research upcoming protests. When the campaigner asked whether an anti-tuition fees group known as Cambridge Defend Education would be of interest to police, the officer said yes. That's the sort of thing that we would be looking for. Again, basic sort of stuff. It's all the internet. When they have meetings and they are discussing what they are going to do, that's when we'll say, "Will you go along?" he said. Responding to the video, Rachel Wenstone, Deputy President of the National Union of Students, said, "This is yet another example of the questionable tactics that undercover police officers have taken in recent years to infiltrate campaign groups and extract information. Cambridgeshire Police are carrying out an internal investigation into the allegations." So it seems to be that we've got themselves being covered up by themselves, or investigated by themselves, rather. So just going to quickly finish this one off. So an investigation is currently being carried out following a public complaint. Therefore, it would be inappropriate for us to comment any further on this matter, said the Cambridgeshire Police. Speaking to The Guardian, Maina Kai said the internal police investigation was an important step, but the volume of similar allegations across the UK in recent years makes it obvious that this needs to go beyond a single officer. Kai published a report critical of UK police surveillance of political groups in 2013 and has continued to monitor the Cambridgeshire allegations. The surveillance of protesters is raw, unvarnished intimidation and activist busting, he said. It's the antithesis of democracy. There you go.
Yeah. It's nothing different than what the Stasi used to get up to in East Germany. So
Yeah.
it's a Stasi, not a police. Well, what the words? Yeah, that's all I can say. Really, it's the same tactics. It's same sort of thing. And not surprised by the article, but very, very unbelievable. And yeah, Big Brother, Stasi.
Yeah, for those that haven't seen the footage of the undercover video of 2013, go and look it up. I did have it, but I don't have enough time to play it on Flux News right now. So, moving on, if you've got no more further comments.
No, you've said it all in the article. Pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, really.
Yeah.
Liars. Striking firefighters march on Parliament over pensions. Thousands of firefighters in England marched through Westminster as part of a 24-hour strike over pensions. They carried local brigade flags and placards reading "Liars" and "Save our pensions." The march coincides with industrial action taking place throughout England, due to finish at 7 GMT on Thursday morning. The Fire Brigades Union accuses the government of backtracking on assurances made over pensions. According to the union, the government promised that firefighters over the age of 55 who failed a fitness test through no fault of their own would receive a full pension or a redeployed role. However, fire authorities and the Fire and Rescue Service have claimed that no such guarantee exists. The union accuses Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State Penny Mordaunt of lying to Parliament after she made the assurances to the House of Commons. In a statement, the FBU General Secretary Matt Rack said firefighters are justifiably angry with how this government is treating them. No mentions of Boris Johnson then. MPs, the public and firefighters were completely misled and given a false guarantee in order to pass the legislation. This is wrong. Firefighters will be protesting in Parliament to make their voices heard. They will be asking David Cameron what he is going to do to ensure his government delivers its guarantee, he added. We will not accept these lies. If they can lie to firefighters, they can lie to anyone and everyone. Mordaunt ducked out of an opportunity to debate with the FBU about the strike, the union claims. She allegedly ignored an invitation to appear on a local radio station and has also refused to meet union representatives on 3 separate occasions. So I'm going to zoom out for this quick video so you can see it. Oh, don't think we've got this audio working. Try again.
Secret. Secret.
Seems to be a 3-second loop of that one. It's not very good, is it? Apologies for the letdown on that one. I should have checked it first. Rack said the fact that Mordaunt is avoiding having an honest conversation about the pension dispute is a disgrace. We have been labelled militant by the government, however they are the ones refusing to talk to us and ignoring the concerns of firefighters, he said. Meanwhile, several people on Twitter have offered their support to the striking firefighters, including Green MP Caroline Lucas, who said, "Solidarity to firefighters today." You remember a few years ago, Andy, there was a strike on the firefighters, and they did actually get quite a bit of support. Not enough support, but they did get quite a bit.
Well, they did in the old days. I mean, I remember the firefighter strike in the 70s, and they had to roll out, and people and the unions still had quite a fair bit of clout in those days. Because all the firefighters went on strike, so there was none of this, get back to work. I have to pay my taxes. You do it. I have to do it. You do it. There was a lot more solidarity with Joe Public and the services like firefighters, etc. And the government had to roll out the Green Goddesses with the army. They called them the Green Goddesses because they were old fire engines, and was all manned by the army. So I mean, you see, the thing is, it doesn't have the teeth anymore like it used to have. Or should we say the solidarity and the backing of the people, because the Joe Public has been changed. The whole morals, the working people. I mean, let's be honest about it. No one admits now. There's very few and actually would admit that they are what they used to term this class business, working class. That's classes in society, that's another story that I've got a strong opinion on, but we won't go into that. But let's just say, everybody, even if they haven't got a job today, they say they're middle class. It's ridiculous. So this is how they've made people. They've destroyed any sort of solidarity with the common working class people that we used to have in the 70s, the 60s and the 70s. We know who destroyed them, a certain Mrs. T, so I'm not surprised.
And on top of that, Andy, not to forget that there was an X amount of firefighters that were let go and so many fire stations shut down.
Yes.
the actions of Boris Johnson. So these guys are already got it tough. Not to forget that the job to start off with is tough to begin with. Being a firefighter, you know, it's a really difficult job. So I mean, how hard do they want them to have it? Anybody who is in this area in London who can attend on this day, Wednesday the 25th of February, or yesterday, and I think today there was. Did they say Thursday was going to be? Hold on, Thursday. I think it mentioned something to do with Thursday.
All right. Well, they should have the solidarity of the people, because I mean they do. You know, they risk their lives saving lives. Now you can't. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think you can compare totally the police force with the firefighters anymore. We used to, but with the amount of scandals that's coming out.
Yeah. I think this label says it, as you can see, we rescue people, not banks. Stop the cuts.
Yes. Whereas now, if you was to go and do a protest against the banks, who would be standing in your way and siding with the banks? So it won't be firemen, will it?
No.
So I'm not knocking the police. I was knocking the police. It's just that a lot of people used to compare all these important services, and police constables had a job to do, which they did, and they used to do a good job. And common sense policing, getting back to being a police constable, what it's all about, not policy officers of what they seem to be today. Although that's a debatable subject, I'm sure, with a lot of policy officers. But there you go. But they do, yeah, they seem to have lost. I don't know, how many was the march? Did they say?
Say again?
Did they say how many was at the protest? Or
I'm not seeing any numbers. No, I'm not seeing any numbers. No doubt they'll be planning further strikes ahead, so... But do get behind them. Whoever can get behind them, please do.
But it doesn't carry the same teeth as what it used to, obviously, in the early 70s.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the old striking firefighters, Dom? Do you think it's right what they're doing? Do you think they should go on strike after allegedly being lied to?
Well, going on where they can retire at 55. I mean, 55. I mean, it's still young, really, isn't it? This day. I mean, they could go on if they pass that fitness test. You could go on till they're about 60, couldn't they?
Yeah, and it said they were offered a full pension or redeployed role.
Yeah.
For those who failed. Mm.
But there won't be many what failed anyway. I mean, firefighters keep themselves fit, don't they? So there won't be that many, unless those what come down with illness, like
yeah,
natural.
Yeah,
you'll be surprised with the amount of firefighters that actually die.
Yeah.
You don't hear about them.
Just adding to that, now can you compare a firefighter's job to an MP's job?
Oh no, you can't compare them. Oh no.
No, you can't compare them, but I think who was worth their salt more?
Yeah, firefighters.
And as for the 55, well, you know, they can't be allowed. They mustn't be allowed to get away with that. That's just it's not right. It's not right. And they should get, and they do deserve, full backing of the public, in my opinion. And anybody who doesn't support them are wrong, basically, in my opinion. So there you go.
Okay, well, I'll quickly move on. The Bin Laden letters with terror chiefs revealed. So it's from the Sky News. Now, for those that are tuned in to listen to this article, you might have your own different opinions, and sometimes you probably won't understand what it is I'm talking about, because it's quite a complex story, really. But the correspondence between the terror leader and followers reveals plots to target the UK and reach the doors of the White House. So, before I play this short video, and I have checked this video, so it's all right. Basically, it's a guy who was arrested. He was extradited over to United States in 2013, I think it was, and he's started his trial. He's put his plea in, which is not guilty, and the letter that he's talking about was found in the Abbottabad raids when they went for Bin Laden and allegedly, apparently, killed him. So we'll play this video.
At a federal terror trial in this New York court, extraordinary evidence has been revealed. It all relates to the case of 28-year-old Pakistani Abid Nazir, accused of playing a major part in a coordinated Al-Qaeda plot to attack New York, Manchester and Copenhagen. Nasir was arrested in Manchester in 2009, allegedly days from trying to bomb the Arndale shopping centre. The UK never charged him, but he was extradited to America to face trial in New York for his alleged part in the conspiracy. As part of its case against him, the prosecution has now revealed never-before-seen documents taken from Osama bin Laden's compound in Pakistan. Some were letters to bin Laden from senior terror chiefs responsible for carrying out attacks on the West. They wrote that the brothers sent to Britain had been unable to carry out their mission because of some arrests. The prosecution argues that was a direct reference to Nasir and his alleged co-conspirators. Other documents revealed the extent of Al-Qaeda's determination to attack America in its heartland. One commander wrote, "Here we are, praise be to God, watching the faltering of the United States and its allies. By God, we shall not stop by his will, except at the doors of the White House, and to raise the banner of monotheism on their so-called Statue of Liberty." It has been an unusual trial. Earlier in the week, undercover MI5 agents gave evidence in full public view, disguised using wigs and makeup. They told the court about hours spent trailing Nasir and his alleged plot partners around Manchester and Liverpool. Nasir is representing himself. He denies all of the charges against him, but if convicted, faces life in prison. Hannah Thomas Peter, Sky News at the federal courts in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the middle part of this now and touch on a few things that audio didn't really go into. So when he was arrested by the UK police, they didn't charge him and they let him go, and then he was extradited to the US. And the trial that he's had, witnesses have been called. Some of the MI5 agents have been caught, and they attended with wigs, wearing wigs and makeup, and to disguise their identity. And apparently, one of them was travelling this guy on a bus, and one of the MI5 that's on the trial will give evidence. Said that they saw him watching a 9/11 video on his mobile phone while he was on a coach journey. And another email that I saw to do with this a few days ago linked on a few other things, but basically they've been monitoring this guy for quite some time before they arrested him in 2009, and all that work that they put into it led to nothing really, because they ended up passing him over to America. So he's representing himself in a trial that he's got. It's been going on for quite a while now, a few days. Well, I think it started on the 11th of February or something around that time. It's going to be a long one. Let's see what happens to this guy. Next one is the State Department officials arrested on suspicion of seeking sex with minor. So, a senior US State Department official was arrested on Tuesday on suspicion of soliciting sex from a minor after talking online with a detective posing as the child, officials and media said. Police from Fairfax County, Virginia, arrested Daniel Rosen in his home in Washington, D.C., the CNN reported, citing police. The network said Rosen was talking online with a detective who was posing as a minor. Fairfax County Police declined to provide information on the arrest when reached late on Tuesday. Rosen could not immediately be contacted for comment, and it was not clear if he had an attorney. Rosen is the Director of Programs and Policy for the State Department's Counter-Terrorism Bureau, according to his LinkedIn profile and an online directory of department employees. The US Department of State was aware of the arrest. Spokeswoman Jen Psaki said in a statement, but declined to identify the suspect or specify the charges. The security clearance will be suspended and he will be put on administrative leave while this proceeds to its end through any judicial process. So who is this guy, you're probably thinking? Never heard of him. Who is that? Who's this Daniel Rosen? Well, this is the guy. Daniel Rosen, 5 fast facts you need to know. So here's the look. Daniel Rosen is the US State Department official who has been arrested in DC and charged with attempting to solicit sex from a minor. Here's what you need to know. Number 1. The Child Exploitation Unit had been tapping Rosen's phone. Rosen was arrested at his home here along Adams Mill Road in DC. A Fox News report that broke the story of Rosen's arrest says the 45-year-old official was taken into custody at his home in DC on the afternoon of February 24th. The report states that a detective in the Fairfax County Child Exploitation Unit had been posing as a child in online messages with Rosen. A source told Fox that the unit had been hitting Rosen's phone. This means a search warrant had been issued in the case. Okay, well. Number 2 is Rosen could get 30 years in the slammer. Rosen is charged with use of a communications device to solicit a juvenile. According to Virginia state law, if found guilty, Rosen could face up to 30 years in prison. The NBC Washington reports that Rosen will be extradited to Virginia. Number 3, he's a director of counter-terrorism at the State Department. According to his LinkedIn page, Rosen is director of counter-terrorism programs and policy at the US Department of State. He's been in that job since August of 2008. Previously, he worked at the Near East Asia Center for Strategic Studies. He was educated at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. In a brief statement following his arrest, a State Department official said his security clearance will be suspended and he will be put on administrative leave while this proceeds to its end through any judicial process. We are following standard procedure in this case. The statement didn't name Rosen as the suspect in the case. Although he said in 2012 that he didn't think terrorist recruitment was going on at an international level. The flag of ISIS, the terrorist group, had been widely successful in recruiting members from all corners of the globe, according to a Wikipedia article. In 2012, Rosen spoke at an event for the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies in DC. He spoke about the risk of terrorism in the US despite counter-terrorism successes. He said his department was studying the recruitment of terrorists and that recruitment was going on in the street and the neighborhood, not the provincial level. Not the national level, certainly, really not the international level. Those comments now stand in stark contrast to the reality of ISIS' success in drawing recruits from around the world, including America. So Rosen also stated at the event that Al-Qaeda was at its apex in 2006 and 2007. You can watch Rosen speaking in the video above. He starts talking around 20 minutes in. This is the second child sex scandal to hit DC in 12 months. That's number 5. This case brings back memories of former Chief of Staff to Republican Senator Lamar Alexander, Jess Ryan Loskin, who was accused of possessing child pornography. He committed suicide at his family home before going on trial on the charges. Since being arrested, Loscorn had been in the custody of his parents, Charles and Laura Goscorn, and forced to remain at their home in Sykesville, Maryland, where he's originally from. He was required to wear an ankle bracelet while a grand jury investigation was ongoing. During this time, he was not allowed to use the internet. The Tunisian reports that he was found in the family's basement unresponsive. The Associated Press reports that he hanged himself. In the Political report, it states that prosecutors believed that Loscorn was a suicide risk. This claim was rebutted by Loscorn's attorney, Pamela Satterfield, who said suicide was not a risk. So there you go, the latest on a US Senate, State Department official being arrested and charged with attempting to solicit sex from a minor and got caught in the act. Okay, that's my wrap up. Sorry it took so long today. Over to you, Dom, if you've got questions.
Yeah, move on to my article. That's okay. Cliff Richard investigation. More allegations as investigation increases significantly in size. So this looks like there's more charges coming along the way. The police investigation to Sir Cliff Richard has increased significantly in size since the exemption involves more than one allegation. South Yorkshire's Chief Constable has revealed. David Crompton said the expanding nature of the investigation meant he could not give a date when it would be concluded. In a letter to Keith Faz, chairman of the Commons Home Affairs Select Committee, Mr Crompton said the force was in regular contact with Sir Cliff's lawyers. The news comes just one day after a report concluded that the singer's privacy was breached when the BBC were tipped off to a raid of his house and were able to scramble helicopters to film the officers at work from above. The publication of the letter from Compton, dated February the 10th, followed a scathing independent report into an agreement between South Yorkshire Police and the BBC, which led to a raid of the singer's home being broadcast live around the world. The independent report found that the deal certainly interfered with his privacy and may have well caused unnecessary distress. Following the raid, Sir Cliff was interviewed by a detective investigating a claim of a sex crime involving a young boy, but was not arrested or charged. Former Chief Constable Andy Trotter said South Yorkshire Police should never have made a deal with the broadcaster, a decision taken from after BBC reporter Dan Johnson went to the fore saying he knew they were investigating the veteran entertainer. The Metropolitan Police investigation to the source of the leak to the BBC had been unable to find the source. So they've not found the leaker. They probably won't, so that's Cliff Richard there. Any comments?
Well, there's been allegations, hasn't there? Rumours for a long time with he was associated with the Elms Guest House, and a pseudonym of Kitty was floated around. Of course, alleged. These are allegations that have been floating about all over the internet and whatever. So obviously there's more to come out about Sir Cliff, isn't there?
There is, yeah. Yeah, they said that there's actually more allegations against it. There's not just one, there's more than one.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Right.
Another one, just another one. Yeah.
ISIS burns library containing hundreds of years of history. Thousands of ancient irreplaceable manuscripts were burned by ISIS fighters after militants raided Mosul Library in Iraq. One Mosul Library official believes that up to 112,000 books were destroyed, spanning centuries of learning and including books registered on a UNESCO rarities list. Library Director Ghanami Al-Tan said that militants took the books away in bags and then destroyed the library using explosives. These books promote infidelity and call for disobeying Allah, so they will be burned. Abida militant told residents, according to local sources. The man who spoke on condition of anonymity because he feared retaliation said the Islamic State group official made his impromptu addresses with their stuffed books and empty flower books. So these demonstrators who support ISIS in Iraq. So yeah. So I hope that's not true. I hope they've not destroyed him. They've took him away, but I hope they've not destroyed him. I don't really like all things getting destroyed, especially buildings in Syria. What's being destroyed? Old buildings, thousands of years old, what have just been bombed.
Well, do you remember the case when they went into Iraq?
Yeah, just about to say that. What they did to Iraq were just completely, irreversible amount of historical evidence and things that are no longer with us.
That's right, from the museum particularly. Stuff had been it got raided and broken into, as well as everything else in Iraq. So yeah, interesting.
Right, next article. Selfridges homeless spikes. Store to remove studs after thousands signed petition against them. Bosses insist the spikes were installed to discourage their own staff from smoking outside the store, but tonight announced they will be removed. Selfridges has agreed to remove a set of spikes from outside the flagship store after it was accused of targeting the homeless. The firm faced a barrage of criticism after installing the raised metal studs outside a city centre store late last year. Bosses insist the spikes were installed outside its Manchester branch to discourage its own staff from smoking outside the store, but tonight announced they will be removed. A petition signed by thousands of people claims the fixtures anti-homeless spikes, similar to those controversially used in London to deter rough sleepers, and brands they use inhumane. Store bosses insist the spikes were installed to discourage their own staff from smoking outside the store, but tonight announced that they would now seek to remove the fittings. These are really went along. I don't know how they would deter smoking. I mean, you could just put your trailer on one of them.
Why didn't they just say, "Oh, we put in there just to make windows look a bit better," or as a decoration? Why come up with some stupid excuse as that? Why, if that's the case,
mean, you can't smoke here. You can't smoke on this area, but you can smoke on this area here.
Listen, if you're told not to smoke outside a certain place, if you work there and your manager says, "Oh, here, we've been told there's no smoking outside now," fair enough, no one's going to do it. You don't need to put studs on windows to prevent them. That's just
it's obviously cock and bull, isn't it?
It's cock and bull. Get your alert ready, Andy. Bullshit alert. Bullshit alert. There you go. Carry on, Dom.
Well, their comment came just hours after church leaders and a poverty charity announced plans to demonstrate outside the Upmarket store on Thursday. John Jones says the spikes outside Selfridges are disgusting. John Jones says spikes outside Selfridges are disgusting. It's been repeated twice, yeah. A Selfridges spokesman said, "As a business, we value all feedback, and it was certainly never our intention to cause any offence. As a business, Selfridges cares a great deal about its local community. We employ over 1,500 team members in Manchester, and as such are involved in a number of local charitable initiatives. We have reached out to those who have expressed concern on this issue, and the store manager at Selfridges Exchange has met with Councillor Pat Carney. We have now made the decision to remove the studs and look at the alternative designs to address the issue of smoking and littering by the side entrance of the store." The spokesman added that no timetable for removing the spikes had been set, but would be decided following further talks. Earlier today, plans for a demonstration outside the shop were revealed by the Church of England, the charity Church Action on Poverty. The spikes outside Selfridges in Manchester city centre. Speaking earlier today, organiser Rev Adam Dickinson of the William Temple Church in Wythenshawe said he was unconvinced by the explanation given for the studs, of which a similar design fixture had been deployed across a number of businesses in the capital. "We feel that official line given by Selfridges is not very believable," he said. "If the spikes really were there as a deterrent for their own staff from smoking, it would suggest that Selfridges have no control over their own staff. But regardless of their intention, these spikes clearly represent a problem It's not just homeless people, it's an irresponsible form of architecture. The petition started earlier this month by Manchester Electric Cafe Yuga calling for the removal of the spikes on change.org, gathered over 10,000 signatures in just a few weeks. Well, let's listen to that a video of an homeless man and what he thinks about it.
Okay. If it'll play. It's one of them that delays and then it plays in about 20 seconds time. No, don't want to play today, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I said it with I were having problems with it earlier. I just said check it.
Yeah,
Before I played
did
it.
check it and it did
Can you
play.
refresh it? Will it refresh?
Get a refresher. I was saying, so what about Tesco? Because there was another one that did it. Have they removed theirs or are they still in place? Does anybody know about
The the Tesco's have removed theirs in July last year.
You can just tell us what you make of these spikes that have appeared outside Selfridges in Manchester city centre.
I think they're different.
And the store are claiming they're there to stop people smoking and littering, but that's not your interpretation, is it?
I think they're staff.
that? Okay, it's not quite finished yet. It's just a bit of a buffer. Difficult video to play, this one.
Taking a tea and outside. Just to move the staff, I think. And that vagrant sitting down there.
Why do you think they want to move homeless people from outside the store?
I think they're a bad influence in the shops.
And you've slept rough for 5 years. Can you just tell us how hard it is and
It's really bad. It's really bad.
and what impact do these sort of measures, such as these studs, have?
Well, not me because it's not bother me just on this side here, but the staff and the other people, I think they're no good now.
Right.
It didn't really affect him directly, but it's still not good.
Yeah. Well, I think they've come in at these spikes and they'll be going out. So in a few months we shouldn't see any of them.
Hopefully, yeah, it'd be good to see.
Yeah,
What
there's a
about
lot of people
in
campaigning to
France
get rid of
where
them and
they put the cages around the benches? Is that right, Andy, in France?
Yeah, and they've also got reports of police officers removing food, cardboard boxes or shelters, homemade shelters by homeless people in London, and you know, removing things and then moving the homeless people on. So you know, there's all sorts of.
Me personally, Andy, because this trended not just over in UK, but going off in America. Now, I personally think it was a talk in the Bilderberg. I really do. I think the homeless people were discussed.
Well, yeah. Well,
that's my opinion, because there were just a mad trend of articles getting put out all at once from different parts of, you know, UK and America, and it were all the similar sort of stuff.
Well, you know, let's hope
stamping out homelessness, but not in the right manner.
Let's hope that none of them end up on the street, eh?
Yeah.
Smoking.
Next article. Woman sparks outrage after walking around museum naked with baby. Artist Malor Meyer, 32, turned out to be the main attraction at the LWO Museum of Art and Culture in the city of Munster, and stunned visitors set eye on their clothless body. Her latest outrageous antic has sparked fury from members of the public who believe she has gone too far this time. Art lover Hank Lang, 30, said, "I'm all for expression and alternatives in art, but this was just ridiculous. From what I gather, she thinks that getting her clothes off and looking at painting of new people and holding a naked baby makes her become part of the art." Violent headlines last year after critics slammed her erratic performance, which saw her push paint-filled eggs out of her vagina. Her flop egg exhibition was described by Mars as volcanic explosions of colour from her vagina. Yet others saw it as absurd, gratuitous, trite, and desperate. So this is a picture of her naked in a museum. Her latest project, named the Naked Life exhibition, seemed to have toned down a touch for her fans. Moore said, "This direct confrontation with live nude art challenged others to reflect on similar forms of perception. It is just a naked infant safe in the arms of a naked woman." She then asks, how close may a form of representation in art approach real life? Surprisingly, her latest eye-catching stunt did achieve some approvals. Visitor Tobias Mayer, 45, confessed, "I must admit it was more interesting than the average art exhibition." What do you think, Greg?
Me, I don't. Obviously, it's not going to be accepted, but I think she's actually showing a good point, putting a good point across. You know, I mean, if we can have it in churches where you've got, you know, naked people carrying babies and all that stuff, then what's wrong with her doing it?
Well, I mean, the museum what she's in, I mean, if you look behind you, there's naked people there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why she's doing it, to you know, send a message, is it not?
Yeah.
What do you think, Andy?
Well, I know that, you know, in painting, one of the arts, that it's quite a popular thing to paint a nude. But the point of this, is it?
Well, wasn't this something that was a few months back on Facebook, where the banned a woman off Facebook for posting a breastfeeding picture or something, and then eventually Facebook said, "Yeah, we'll allow it."
Well, basically, I mean, it doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me in any particular way. It's not the sort of thing I would class as art. But then arts for me is a different, you know. I'm not saying it's not art. I'm not saying it's got any contribution towards art. But then it's not my cup of tea. That's all. Basically, would it offend me if I went to look at some pictures and she was there naked or anything like that? Would it offend me? I just thought, well, it's probably a bit cold, you know. I don't know. Whatever.
Right, next article. Saving Chase. Doctors are going to circumcise his terrified little boy against his will. A little picture of him here. This is about a legal battle between his parents. This is a 4-year-old Chase. The little boy from West Palm Beach, Florida, is due to have his foreskin removed today against the wishes of both himself and his mother, Heather Aramis. When Chase was a baby in 2011, his mother signed a legal agreement for the operation to take place as per the wishes of his father, Dennis Nebus. But 4 years later, the surgery has not happened. Now Chase, an healthy school-aged child, has said he does not want to be circumcised. Surgery will be risky and painful, and the paediatric urologist called Dr. Charles Flux said removing his foreskin is not medically necessary. The problem is due to the legal document. A court ruled in November last year that the decision stands, especially since Chase's father still wants him to undergo the operation. In a last-ditch effort, his mother and a group of activists launched a battle to save him on social media under the hashtag Saving Chase. A website, savingchase.org, was also created with a fund for raising awareness of the issue. Chase's mother and father, who had a 6-month-long relationship, are no longer together. Both were appalled that doctors can circumcise the boy. Some just wanted to stop the operation from happening. Others wanted to raise awareness so this never happens again. The final decision will be made later. Well, should Chase be circumcised? Obviously, you said no, isn't it? No, it's his body. It's his decision. Let's have a look. Yeah, well, 6% said yes, the law is clear on this. So 6% actually agree he should be.
Well, if some sort of, did you say some sort of thing was signed, medical thing was signed?
Yeah, they signed a legal agreement. Was in legal agreement for the operation to take place per the wishes of his father, Dennis Nebus. So his father wants him to have it. He must be Jewish, like he must be Jewish.
Well, there's absolutely no need to get circumcised. The people who do get circumcised do it because they don't understand the true original meaning of it. But I'll not go into that. But yeah, I'm same. I think it's his personal choice for when he gets older. He shouldn't be forced to do anything.
Yep.
But I guess if they don't, you know, the old kidnapping people come along and snatch him, I guess.
Yeah, I've got. It just reminds me. I don't know why I thought of a film called Easter's East come into my mind, and he goes back to the Indian fella and finds out that his wife hasn't carried out the circumcision, and the boy's I don't know, coming up to a teenager, and he goes, "What do you tell me, Mrs.? He's still got tickle tackle." So I don't know why. It's just. I don't know if you've seen the film. If you've seen the film, it's.
I have, yeah, I have.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just thought it, but I got no opinion on that. But I need a. Yeah, really, if it's his body, it's his decision. But of course, he's a minor, so I don't know. Float on by that one. Sorry, Don. Hold you on.
Right, next article. Daughter locked up in shed for 6 years because parents disapproved of boyfriend. Here she is, locked up in the shed. A young woman was locked up in a derelict house for 6 years after her parents said they didn't approve of her boyfriend and forced them to break up, it has been claimed. Police are investigating claims that 24-year-old Zhang Hu tried to run away several times from her home in the village of Jing'an in central China's Hubei province before she was thrown into an abandoned building and left to fend for herself. It is alleged her parents made her dump her boyfriend in 2009. Pictures have emerged of the squalid conditions believed to have been taken by a villager. This is the front of the squalid derelict house building. Chow Jen, 50, said, her parents are powerful people here, and everyone was told not to interfere. Everyone knew about the girl in the house. I moved away and only come back to visit occasionally, so I don't care about their threats. He added he was happy to expose these pictures online if the local authorities refused to do anything. Police have yet to comment on the case. Yeah, that's could only happen in China. But police are leaving it here. This is where he is here. Looks like she's got some orange shoes here. What's that? Is that bread? Is it bread? So someone's obviously bringing her food. Probably her parents, aren't they? So this, right. Next article. Caring parents get tattoos of young daughter's huge birthmark to make her feel special. Mum Tanya Phillips said, "We wanted Unnie Ray to feel special, that her birthmark was something to feel proud of and not embarrassed by. Most women mark their 40th birthday with a luxury holiday, an indulgent trip to this bar, or an expensive piece of jewellery. But the only diamond Tanya Phillips had her eye on was the one at the end of a tattoo needle. To celebrate her big day, she embarked upon the usual full-leg 4-hour tattooing of a bright red birthmark. Tanya admits it looks like a little garish, and sometimes she dreamed she would do. But the moment before wonder when the unusual painful procedure for the most poignant and awful of reasons. Yeah, so there's just another picture there. So this is the tattoos here, what they've had done. She's got a little birthmark on her leg. And the parents have had the same. So, what would you do, Paul? Would you have something like that done? And
What tattoos?
well, this tattoo I done if birthmark tattoo.
I think me personally, it's just putting more. Now that kid's gotta see this and think, well, what's going on here? Not I mean, I've got it now. I woke up one day, Mum's got it, and then Dad's got it, and surely that child doesn't even know what the hell's happening.
At that age, I wouldn't have thought.
So what? Mate would feel special, so their daughter would feel special. Just that word alone, special. That's, I don't know.
Well, it stresses from her toes to her lower back. It hasn't faded with time. In fact, some days it looks darker than others. So yeah, so that's a real picture of her mum in here. That's her dad. Right, of course, cool. Oh, this is the article you're talking about, and man who tried to have sex with postbox found dead.
Oh, yesterday. I noticed the article on an article you were doing. That's right. Yeah.
The body of Paul Bennett was discovered in the early hours of Sunday morning behind a Chinese restaurant in Wigan, Greater Manchester. Police say the 45-year-old may be drug-related, but not treating as suspicious. Last month, a court heard how Bennett was spotted by a member of the public pulling his pants down and rubbing himself against a red mailbox. The female witness claimed when he was done, drunken Bennett then pulled his pants up and checked his reflection before leaving. The bizarre incident in September last year came after Bennett had rowed with the woman in public. Katie Bater, prosecuting, said he had then began performing a sex act and walked over to the post box and started to make sexual advances towards it. She added, the victim ran the police. She was disgusted by his behaviour. Bennett of Worsley, Greater Manchester, was found guilty of 2 charges of indecent exposure as well as using threatening, abusive words and behaviour at Wigan Magistrates Court. I think it's 2 charges, not 2 changes. He was given a 12-month community order with alcohol treatment programme but was ordered to pay £260 to the victim. He was also forced to sign the sex offenders register indefinitely. Following his death, as acquaintances of Mr. Bennett paid tribute, saying he had his troubles, but he wasn't a bad lad. So yeah, he'd been found dead behind Chinese.
So what did the post box get compensated?
The woman who phoned the police did. I don't believe she should have got anything really, but
yeah, but it says there the headlines. If you go up to the top, man who tried to have sex with post box and dead. So the charges were not brought by the post box against the man then, as the post box was the victim, wasn't it?
yeah.
The only thing to get physically molested here, not the woman. So the crime was committed against the post box. So I just wondered if the post box got compensated.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a bit exaggerating it, but he didn't really have sex with the post box. Trying to have sex with the post box.
He's rubbing up against the side. It says they're rubbing up against the.
Yeah.
Was that not after he had an argument with the woman?
During the same time he had an argument, and then he pulled his pants down and did that.
Alright.
Right. But what I'm saying is that if there's a victim and there's a crime committed, then the only victim there is the post box, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, she reported it because indecent exposure. I don't think that's worth £260, do you?
Well, indecent exposure. Well, we just seen a woman posing for art, naked, with a naked child. Is that not indecent exposure?
Well, if I said opposite, I'd be sexist, really, wouldn't I?
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just putting the thought out there. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just putting the thought out there. I just wondered if it's, a crime means, there's a. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting, Don. You brought it up.
Yeah. And finally, the last article, Ghost Terror, Spirit of the Grey Lady, captured on camera at Hampton Court. The famous Ghost of the Grey Lady has appeared in a young girl's photograph during her visit to Hampton Court Palace for the first time in 19 years. This is a picture of the original Grey Lady. the original picture here, which to me looks genuine. It is believed that the spectre is actually the spirit of Dame Sybil Penn, a woman who nursed Elizabeth I through smallpox in the 1500s. Supernatural experts say she died of the same disease shortly after, and continues to haunt the old palace in Surrey. The ghost, which has not been spotted for years, has emerged again this week in a 12-year-old girl's photograph. Holly Epsier was taking photos of the 16th century stately home during a visit last week. When she looked back at the snaps on her iPhone, she saw a mysterious figure lurking by an old fire. The spooky shadow is seen with long flowing hair standing over her cousin Brooke McGee, also 12, as she admires the Elizabeth building. Yet another photo just seconds after, the ghost seems to have disappeared. This one, here there is the ghost here. I mean, I don't know what to think of it really. But then the second photo, she's gone. I was totally freaked out, Brooke Cogburn Church Avering told The Sun. I didn't see anything. People say the room goes cold when ghosts appear, but we had no idea. Ollie's mum Angie said she was speechless. The 48-year-old added, there was no one else in that room, and she floated through the rope. According to record, the Grey Lady was first spotted in 1829. The same year, her tomb was moved from the palace. This is the 1829 picture of the Grey Lady coming down the stairs. In a palace brochure, it reads, Sybil Penn is the most persistent ghost at Hampton Court Palace. There have been sightings as recently as 1986, when a lady in grey was reportedly seen in various Tudor courtyards and cloisters. It's said that the sound of a spinning wheel could be heard from behind a wall in the southwest wing of the palace. And when the wall was demolished in 1829, an old spinning wheel is said to have sat in an old forgotten room. There are a number of other spirits said to be lurking in the palace. One worker claims a dog has been seen and heard in a room on more than one occasion, and the presence of a dog has been felt by somebody sensitive to paranormal activity. So, do you believe in ghosts, or no? Or do you think it's a load of...
Well, I've been to Hampton Court many years ago. I kind of semi got lost in the maze, but I didn't see no Grey Lady. I've been through them rooms. There's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of them. Although I think since I've been, years later, there was a fire there. I think there's a lot of damage there, but quite a big place. But I didn't see no ghosts. I don't know what to make of that. Especially you can mess about even in the 1800s with exposure, can't you, in photography? Not saying I don't believe in...
It's repetitive. I mean, wasn't there one about Henry VIII? He was apparently seen opening the doors.
Oh, yeah, that was an Oaks, that one.
Oh, is that an Oaks? So...
Woodman dressed up as Henry VIII, yeah, the Hampton Court Ghost caught on video in 2009. Yeah, he were actually a person dressed up.
You were debunked, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Tudor, it's Tudor, isn't it? It's the period that Hampton Court was built in. But it was strange because when I was walking through, I found it rather an empty place. I didn't find it that thrilling didn't look anything special really. The maze was a good laugh. That was many years ago. So ghosts. Well, no ghosts. Do they exist? Yeah.
Right, thanks. That's all from me tonight. Anyway, I've done my articles. Thanks a lot.
Alright, Dom, cheers for that. Andy, nice one for your articles.
Right. You're welcome.
Okay, so do join us again tomorrow, hopefully for some more Flux news. So thank you for watching, and take care, and we'll join you soon. Bye for now.